Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dill Me In. And today I have a few guests with me today. I think this is the most I've ever had on an episode, honestly. So we are talking about forgiveness today, a touchy subject, could be. And I just would love to get everyone's perspective on, what they think forgiveness is and how they've dealt with it, and just entertain you guys with a few things that you may be able to learn from this episode. So I hope that everyone is able to take something away from it. And we're going to keep everything positive here today. And with me, I have Christine. And Christine, could you tell us just briefly what your podcast is called and what you like to talk about?
Yes, my podcast is actually named I Am a Student of Life, which is something I started a couple months ago. And it's about really growth and healing and also my personal journey. I actually did have an episode about forgiveness, which is interesting. So
Awesome.
that's what my podcast is about. And then it's really a lot about a personal journey, a personal healing journey. And then I call it a student of life because I realize, well, we are continuously learning every single day. We are learning new things every single day. And then I think that's what the journey is. When you are growing, when you're evolving, you are learning through that process. So I think all of us are students of life, actually.
Awesome. I love it. And definitely. So I'm going to make sure I have a link where you guys all can follow. If you're listening to this, make sure you follow the link at the bottom of the podcast. If you're on any of my social media, then it's going to be there as well. So you can listen to any one of these lovely people's podcast and tune into that. Leanne also has a podcast. And what's the name of yours?
Hi everyone, I'm Leanne. My podcast is called Beyond the Label. So I interview weekly guests to share about their own journey of breaking stereotypes and going beyond labels, stereotypes, all of that, because I do believe that life is so much more than just what other people think it should be. So I hope that my podcast will inspire people and, to hopefully get people to take a leap of faith and to do something unconventional.
Nice. I love it. I love it. And also we have with us RJ. And RJ, what is your podcast? I know there's three. Is it three or four of you guys?
Well, it's actually two of us now. It started out as three.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm RJ from CONVO series. CONVO series is one word, it's kind of like conversation adversaries.
Nice.
And it started out, I've been doing it for about a year and a half now. It started out with three of us. And then one of my co-hosts actually moved away to
Oh,
California. And
okay.
so now it evolved into an interview show where we've had on actors, hairstylists, financial people, and local artists and stuff. So
Cool.
check that out.
I like it. I like it. And then also we have Sam with us. Sam just
What
brings
is
all the
up?
energy. I love it.
You're feeling it?
Yes.
Bringing the thunder. Yeah. So I bring that energy to a show called The Nostalgia Cafe. And on that show, we interview former or current celebrities, but ones from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like this week, we're talking to June Ambrose, who's like the craziest,
Aw.
coolest stylist of all time. And I'm also a teacher, so I taught her kids, so she owes me one. So she's
Oh,
going to
what
be
grade
on
do you
this week.
teach?
I used to teach in New York City, but now I have a school of my own.
Nice. Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, so Nostalgia Cafe, check it out.
Yes, please. Everyone, please listen to that. Listen to all of these podcasts. I know they're great. And last but not least, Santiago, tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Hi, yes. So I'm Santiago Ramones. I have a podcast called Bit Depth. I interview interesting people about deep stuff. And so I will ask like really hard and philosophical questions like
Hmm.
what's the role of spirituality or religion in your life? What's your definition of God? What's free will? How do you determine what good behavior is? And so these are conversations that you can have with anyone. And so I I kind of run the gamut with the number of or with the types of guests that I get. And so it's uh, musicians because I'm a musician, but it's also like I had a person who worked at a mortuary, a crime scene technician.
Oh, wow.
And so it's been definitely a lot of interesting conversations, and it's really nice to have deep conversations with people. And I started
Yes.
doing it in 2016, so this year I hit 5 years.
Really?
Nice.
Nice. Congrats.
Thanks.
Oh man, yeah. So I love what he said, like the conversations and just like networking and just getting to know people is really, really, really what I love podcasting. So that's awesome. I love it. So we are going to jump into forgiveness here today, and we are going to see what everyone kind of thinks when they hear the word forgiveness. So if we can start off with Leanne, when you hear the word forgiveness, what is your unique definition for that?
I think for me personally, forgiveness is really letting yourself free, like freeing yourself from all the worries and from your own like holding back. Because I think forgiveness is not just forgiving someone who wronged you or letting things go, but it's really setting yourself free in the sense that that does not bother you anymore and you can finally move on from what happened.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Nice.
Yeah.
And Santiago, what do you think? What is your unique definition of forgiveness?
I agree with Leanne quite a bit in that forgiveness is less about the people who have transgressed against you, but more about what you are going to do with your emotions, with your feelings, and how you can learn to be okay with that, learn to accept that this is what happened. And there's a difference between forgiveness and an apology. But I think for myself, forgiveness is from within. It's for yourself, letting go of that transgression and moving past it so that you are more okay with yourself and more okay with the experience, that even if it was negative, that you are able to let go of it now.
Mm-hmm. I like when you said from within. It kind of just embodies something, like, I don't know, it gives like a little feel to like what forgiveness should be from within. So I love that. Moving along, who we have next? Sam, what do you think? What's forgiveness to you?
Ooh, well, I was basically going to say the same thing as the other two, but as they were talking, I was thinking about my students. I decided that forgiveness is two different things. When you're a little kid and you're innocent, it's just kind of natural. You just let it go. You get into an argument over a toy, and then 2 minutes later, that kid's your best friend again. So easy to
That's
forgive as a
true.
kid. But then you get older and maybe get bitter or whatever it is that makes it harder for you to forgive.
Yeah.
So I think when you're older, forgiveness is a realization that life is too short for nonsense, and it just feels good to let go. So
That's
that's what I think it
true.
is. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And also, okay, we're gonna get into it, but Sam actually shared something with me about a
Oh,
little situation. Can I mention this? Is this
you
fine?
calling me out? No, yeah, I will totally
No,
share this.
it was awesome. No, you go ahead. It's your thing.
So,
If
yeah,
you
I
can
gotta
share
thank you. This is insane. So I was a pain in the butt as a kid, as many kids are, I'm sure.
it.
So it's all good. But my friend's older brother used to terrorize me. I mean, he
Hmm.
used to drag me downstairs. He would shoot me with paintballs. It was, it
Oh,
was, it was so tough. I took martial arts because of him, all that good stuff. So,
something good came
anyways,
from that.
oh, total. A lot of good things came from that, which is cool. And I've forgiven him decades ago,
Hmm.
but because of the nature of this episode, I I sent him a little voice message because I found him on Messenger, and it was really, I'm sure it was weird for him to hear,
Yeah.
but as soon as he got it, he messaged me back and really apologized. Said he barely remembers the stuff I was even talking about, but he apologized, and I was like, well, all right, that's great. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
sometimes you just need that closure. And I think we're going to get
Yes.
to that. Yeah, we're going to get to that later this episode too, which will be fun. So I won't take any more of your time. Christine, go ahead. What was your unique definition of forgiveness?
Well, beside agreeing with all the things that the others just said, but for
Mhm.
me also what I realized, because forgiveness is actually, that's why when I said my show was called like I am a student of life. So forgiveness is something that I have been learning and I'm still learning from until today,
Mhm.
because I feel like forgiveness, it's also a stage when we come to a point where we stop feeling victimized, we stop feeling sorry for ourselves when somebody do us wrong. And also it's a way also to replace all the negative energy that we can actually build from the inside, that can actually be a burden on our shoulders, and we release those negative energy, and then now we can replace them with attitude, with positive attitudes, when we can say, well, I cannot change what have happened. I cannot change the course of things. I cannot change the circumstances of the situation. But what I can do to release myself from it all, I need to learn to forgive. But in order to do that, you have to put yourself in a position where you no longer feel as a victim, but as a way where you can gain strength and pass forward and pass through that pain, where you can overcome it. So for me, forgiveness is really releasing those resentment, those bitterness that can actually
Mhm.
drown.
I agree. I agree. Totally true. And I think that's the hardest part with forgiveness is being able to kind of get through that hurdle, so to speak, to even get
Mhm.
to the other side of that. So awesome. I loved it. RJ, what do
Yeah.
you think? He's like, yeah.
My turn here. I will agree pretty much with everybody. I personally, I would think forgiveness is, in a short answer, letting go.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Whether it's letting go of the person that's hurt you or letting go of the thing that that person did that hurt you. It's the letting go act of it, because like what was just said before me, it's like a tension almost in your shoulders, and it's literally and physically a tension in your shoulders when you're holding on to something like that. Are we all familiar with the god? I think, can't remember if he's a Greek god or Roman god, Atlas.
Oh yeah.
He's the one who was literally holding up the world,
Mhm.
so it wouldn't fall. And it always feels like that, especially when something big happens to you that like just really gets to you, really hurts you, and like is so attached to you. When we're able to just let it go, it's just like Atlas putting down the world. It's such a relief on us, and is really at the end of the day about us. Um,
So
when we're
yeah.
kids, it is about, okay, you forgive that person. Somebody tells you forgive them, and it's like, as a kid you don't really know what forgiveness is, and that's why when you're older and you're more jaded, it's harder to quote unquote forgive and let
True.
go.
True. Very true. Love it. I love it. See, we get so much perspective. That's why I wanted to do this episode so bad. I love it already. Okay, so we're just gonna cover a few topics here, and it's crazy. Just kind of like to add to like what Sam was saying, like he had his own thing that happened. It feels like honestly, you guys, this entire week. Well, I mean, it's what we're on Tuesday. We haven't even the week hasn't even really started, and it's just been like thing after thing. Like I guess even from the weekend, it's just like since I said I wanted to do this episode, it's like just I just kind of get hit with all of these things that I would need to incorporate forgiveness into, and it was crazy. So I guess I'm looking to get something from this episode as well. So
Mm.
going from that, so I think Leanne's going to start us off here. And we are just covering, is forgiveness learned or innate? How do you feel about that, Leanne? Do you think that it is something learned or just like naturally that comes to you?
Definitely learned. I think just based on everyone's answer to the previous question, it comes with evolving your personality. And I think forgiveness is something that we realize in our own journey. So
Mhm.
for me, I'm very hot-headed. I get very emotional and impulsive sometimes. And when I was a kid, I would just like yell at people and not know how to be polite or respect people sometimes when I'm just feeling so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think over the time, obviously at that moment you get mad at yourself and people shout at you, then you get mad at that person as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, so over the time, you just finally like learn to, I think it's a constant process as well, but then you realize that everything that's happened and you hold grudges for so long, and when something else happens, it reminds